welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me. How are you doing today?
First of all, it's my pleasure to do the interview. I'm pretty good actually, because the summer just keeps on going and going. So I'm a person, despite my love for metal and the darkness, that does get energy from the sun. So good. All is good.
So you're releasing your new album, Motiva. How are you feeling about the upcoming release since it's approaching really soon?
Well, like super excited, but also really nervous because it's been like 12 years since our last album, and we have put a lot of of our souls and blood and tears and sweat and also money into that album. So really nervous also about the reception. What are people going to think about it? What are the reviews going to be like? Like it's shitting bricks. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, your band was actually, like you mentioned, inactive for a couple of years. What sparked you to start up the band again and write new songs?
Well, we weren't really inactive. We were just less active, Like we were still in the creative process and we were still doing the things we did. We played a few gigs here and there, but we just had life came in the way of the band a little. We had some kids, had some work stuff, had some bad luck, had some changes in the lineup, stuff like that just happened to, then it just took this long for us to make the album. But now it's finally done and it's coming out, so.
Yeah, Unchained was the first single you released, I believe. What sorts of reactions did you get from your fans when you released it? Did a lot of people, were they really happy that after 12 years you finally released new material?
Yeah, actually we were completely dumbfounded by the positive feedback that we got and the interest, that obviously there are so many new great bands that have come to the scene and it's certainly been a while since we've done anything new, so we had to take into account the possibility that nobody would just care anymore, So the feedback was really great and we were just absolutely stoked to read all the comments and just to be back. It was great. Actually, we did do a little over a year ago at the end of May in 2019, we released Empty, which was the Eva and Manu cover that we did. That was just this little teaser of hey, we're still alive. And already that one got a really good response. So we were slightly less nervous, but it's still different, to do a cover and then put your actual baby out there for people to judge. So yeah, we were super happy about the response.
Yeah, and with there being a 12-year gap in between the release of Immortian and Motiva, how would you say that your sound has evolved? Personally, I think it sounds a little bit more modern, what the contemporary norm is, I guess, but it still has an eye to your roots. Is that at all correct?
I think it's very correct. This is definitely the best sounding Silentium album so far. And I think there's been a major leap in the the sound of Silentium on this new album, which we also obviously have to thank Aksu Hanttu, who recorded and mixed the album. So a huge thank you to you, Aksu. But definitely just as musicians and as a band as a whole, we have matured, we have evolved, and you can hear that. But you're right, we are still true to the roots, and you can definitely still always hear that, all right, this is a Silentium song. And this is what I love about my band, is just the recognizability of the sound and the uniqueness of what we do.
Yeah, actually a lot of bands who played the symphonic metal, they became progressively more poppy over the years, like Epica with Temptation as well. Is that something you guys consciously didn't want to do?
I don't know if consciously, but it's if we were to do that, we would have to deliberetely try and do that. And I think what we do when we write music, it sort of organically becomes what it is. Of course there's certain directions we want to go and so on, but if we wanted to do a pop song, we would have to decide to do it. So we don't have to decide not to do it. We are what we are, and what comes out comes out. And if we would try to wear another hat, then that would just be us pretending a little, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Within these 10 years, also the industry changed quite a bit with like this kind of new streaming things going on and you know, less focus on physical records. Was it difficult for you to get like restarted again during this whole change?
Um, a little. I'll be honest. Yeah, a little. It's not like any of us are really like social media oriented or like, we're not that young anymore either, that it's something that you have to find the resource for to do all the social media stuff. And by resource, I mean time, nerves, ideas, stuff like that. So yeah, it's not like maybe that it was hard, but there's more demand. There should be like, you should be doing more on different like aspects that you didn't maybe have 10, 15 years ago when we last were doing this. So yeah, it's changed quite a bit. And I handle our social media. So if you want to come and have a chat, then just, yeah, come on.
How much has your label assisted you with these things that may have changed for you over the years?
The label, of course, assists with like press and promo and stuff like that, which is really important. We're not a big enough band for media to just go and follow our like social media and get their news from there and stuff like that. That can happen now with like if you're a big enough celebrity or a band, then that's pretty common now that your tweets or posts in Instagram can become news on their own. But definitely the label helps to handle the whole field of what you need to be doing to sort of get your record out there, get your music out there. It's just not enough to just believe that the music on itself will somehow carry the whole thing. That's not how it goes.
Considering like the 12 years in between, what has been the time frame for this release? You mentioned that you were kind of in this creative process meanwhile, but did you start 12 years ago? And did you have songs that you didn't take with you that you still had left over from the last release or something like that?
Well, I don't think we have any that were sort of left over from Amarkdown, but there were some songs that were left out of this album that might then, when they evolve enough, find their ways to the next one. But I don't know, some of the songs have been like tied. For instance, I know Sami has started to work on it at least 10 years ago already, and it's taken time to sort of find its final form. And some of the songs are more recent and more fresh, so to speak. But then again, like even the songs that we've started to work on a decade ago have been like in this like state of evolving and finding the perfect way to sort of become a reality. So it's been like, even though for me personally it was kind of hard that it took this long and that the band wasn't as active as I had become accustomed to it being. So like, mentally it was hard for me. But then in retrospect, now that I look at everything, I'm really happy that it took all that time, because you can hear it on the album, you can hear the maturity, you can sort of hear how well everything has come together with that time and space.
Yeah, I think it might actually be really interesting to hear your demos or something, because they probably changed a lot over time.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. There's like changes. I know we first we did like a 3-song demo to try and find a label to sort of pay for the recording process even before all the songs were finished, and that didn't work out. So then we sort of did everything ourselves. And if you compare that demo to what the songs on the album are, clearly they're still the same songs, but there are some like structural differences and some other choices vocally as well that have been like taken different paths than on the demos.
How do you guys usually go about writing the songs? Is it a collaborative process, and if so, what does it really look like?
Usually we sort of it is definitely a collaborative process. And our main songwriters, Juha Lehtioksa and Sami Buhlman, usually sort of come up with the base of the song, and then they send it to me, and I do sort of like a top liner session where I maybe come up with the melodies and at least have like some inspiration for the lyrics and so on. But there's also like other ways that we do this, especially now that we've been on lockdown and isolation and so on. We've had like more time to do these things differently. So we are trying different things. They can like sometimes go the opposite way around, where I'm like cooking for my kid and have my like phone and just record like a bit of a melody and send it to Sami and say like, hey, okay, let's see what you would put under this. By the way, I just noticed your Hellas shirt. Damn, I love that. Like latest one of theirs. Oh my god, that Moon Night song is just
Yeah, they're amazing.
very
No, it's okay. Anyway, I was also like really impressed with the variety of songs you have there. You have like more upbeat songs like Unchained maybe, and then you also have like the emotional and beautiful Safer Easier. And in most songs you actually also use a very different singing technique. Which of these songs was the most fun for you to just sing and like kind of come up with the ideas for it?
Yeah, all of them are obviously fun. I don't know anything more fun than just singing, doing music. Obviously, live is the best way to do it. But I would probably say that my personal favorite is "Shame." The lyric is extremely personal. It's a breakup song. It's like having to deal with like having been in a relationship that is not good for you, but you have not been like, let's say, under like the physical danger or like financial extortion or anything like that, that you could have left but you didn't, and that is something that you have to accept responsibility for and figure out. And that song was just like one of the like easiest one to do, in sense where everything just clicked into place. When I write melodies and when I sort of write lyrics and so on, it's always the best when it's like that you're not making it, you're not doing it, you're just adding something that is missing, something that the song is clearly longing for, and that song is a great example of that. And then just having the woodwind quartet in it to just like be the crown of everything, and the sound of the song and how it turned out is just very, very close to what in my head I wanted it to sound like. So I'd say Shame.
Some of the songs are also like a bit longer in length. You have, for instance, Vortex, and I think it had this also really cool kind of jazzy part in it. But
Yeah.
how does the process behind these longer songs go? Is it very different from writing a standard like 3 minute radio friendly track?
Sami would be the best person to answer this, but I know, as he has replied about this to another interview, but he said that whereas I know that Tide has been worked on for like a decade, then but Vortex was done in a matter of weeks. So I guess it kind of depends on the song, the story you want to tell, what the connotations and what your relationship with the song is. And I think even though Vortex is of course a complex song, and like you said, has a jazzy part and everything, it's still slightly simpler than what Tide is, the other 10-minute monster that we have on the album. So I guess this is a personal question and a matter of just going case by case, and just has to do with what the song means and where you are personally as a musician and a writer at that point.
I mean, going back to Vortex especially, it has this more progressive edge to it. And well, now that you mentioned Hellas, I might as well ask you for your like inspirations, because to me, I maybe wouldn't have expected that you'd like a band like Hellas, because it's maybe not super obvious in your music, but of course, as a vocalist, you can get inspiration from many, many styles.
Oh, definitely. And like my taste in music just is all over the place. And it just kind of depends on where I am in my personal life, what sort of stress levels do I have. And stress levels have been quite high lately. So, so I've just kind of gone with very sort of mellow, even ambient music to sort of, just end the stress a little bit. So my inspirations, they vary a lot. I love female singers that have like very distinctive voices, for instance. Like my early influences include like Courtney Love and and Tori Amos and Cindy Harvey. Definitely also Alanis Morissette, who's done like pretty good songs now, the new ones that she's coming out with. So it's very hard for me to pinpoint, an inspiration as such. Like my inspiration for writing the lyric is just trying to understand people and me personally, but also other people and why people do the things they do, say the things they say, and are the way they are. And that's basically what the album title Motiva is also about. It means to move, to be stirred in Latin. So I just want to study what drives us to do the things we do, make the choices that are either good or bad.
Do you also draw like inspiration in that sense from like psychology and sociology maybe in your lyrics?
Yeah, a little bit, but I have to say that I'm by no means an expert in either of those areas. I am just like an empathic person who likes to support people and listen if you're like having a tough time. And of course, since I've had less than pleasant experiences in life, as is of course everybody, but there have been some struggles, and in the best case scenario, I think those struggles can teach you to be a better person, and in the worst case scenario, they just make you bitter and make you sort of escalate that negativity into other people, and that is something I really really want to avoid.
How do you usually go about writing the lyrics? Do you kind of just let it flow, or do you always have this kind of idea first that you want to express?
I usually have an idea, or like a story I want to tell, emotion that I want off my chest, or some experience that I want off my chest, or I'm thinking about someone else's experience or something like that. That's where it comes from. Very rarely do I have like, let's just sit down and start writing kind of moment. Often it's like it's a fast process for me. If you have to like push it, then it's not right. Like it has to flow in that moment, but there needs to be that thought, that story behind it for it to happen.
Knowing that you take your inspiration from people and their behaviors, do you think that this whole COVID-19 situation will be a huge inspiration for you in terms of the psychological effects on people of the whole pandemic situation?
Yeah, actually, yeah, and like there's like two aspects to it. There's like how the world is reacting, and then how am I personally reacting, to this whole thing, because it's a learning experience for all of us, like in a big scale and in a small scale, like globally and individually. Everybody needs to learn how to first deal with this situation, and also about themselves, like why am I reacting the way I'm reacting? Because like for me, like the first emotion when like everything was sort of shut down, and like everything slowed down so drastically, for me the initial feeling was immense relief. It was like, yeah, I don't need to live my life anymore. And that is a very like something that stops you on your tracks. Like if that's an emotion that you get when you get a surprise break from your life and you're like, oh, then you really need to reevaluate where you are and what you're doing, because yeah, but maybe other people can sort of find those things as well. And also like that if your reaction was like, oh my god, this is terrible, I don't get to see people, then maybe it's something to contemplate whether like your life right now is meeting the needs you have as a person to be happy. And because when you're happy, you have the most to give, so you should put a lot of time and effort into self-care and hearing and listening to yourself. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? What feels good? What feels bad? Because you will be like spreading those vibrations and those energies around you as well.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how for some people nothing much changed actually with their old lifestyle. So I guess it's an interesting way of looking at it at least. Also, against all the odds, you have a show coming up at On the Rocks in a couple of days. How are you looking forward to being able to be on stage again?
We were actually on stage last Friday already, and that was like a first gig in a long time. We played in Jämsänkoski, where we're from, there was a small festival called Rock, and that was already an absolute blast to just play there. And we are extremely looking forward to next Wednesday when we do have that gig. And we're only going to be playing new songs. It's a short set. We're a special guest. We're lucky enough to be invited by Asim Sirah's new band, True Cult Club. Asim, who plays for Winter Sun and a bunch of other bands like Damnation Plan, for instance. And they then invited us to do like this special guest slot, and that's like probably as close as we're gonna get to like a release show in this situation. So we are super stoked to be able to play, even if it is the shorter set. But like me personally, I don't know anything more fun than playing gigs, and it just gives me so much energy, and nothing really compares to that feeling. So I think we're all like just really looking forward to doing it.
Was it hard for you guys to pick the set list? Because I guess you can't play all the songs on the album as well.
No, not all of them. Yeah, neither of the 10-minute monsters are going to be taking up third the set. Not this time. But yeah, no, it wasn't too hard because when you take out like a circle that is basically almost an instrumental, and Friend that is like the instrumental outro, and then the 2-minute monsters, we're gonna play all the songs that are left.
So what can people expect from the show next week, except for, of course, the new songs?
At least some really intense atmosphere, because like I said, we don't know how many gigs after that or when after that we're going to be able to play. So there's going to be high energy, and there's going to be high, like, just concentrated emotion in that gig. So I definitely hope that you come and see it.
All right, I think that's it for my questions. I would usually ask about plans for the rest of the year, but it's kind of a big question mark in general. So do you have any last thoughts you want to share with your fans and people watching this video?
Absolutely. Like, if you are one of the people who have stood by us throughout all these years, I want to send you my deepest gratitude and sincere love for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Trust me, like, all of us really value you and your existence. And if you are only now discovering us, then I hope you stay with us for the next decade, and we promise that the next album will not take 12 years. It will be faster. And I definitely hope that we get to see all of you at gigs soon, and we get to high five and exchange hugs and fist bumps or whatever is safe at that moment. But yeah, hope to see you guys very soon.